For the next, I'm so quiet.
I know, but you gotta yell.
For the next meeting for operations finance, it's add to the agenda, 7th and 8th grade to high school, as well as discussing the two-school solution for MTA this summer.
As chair of the committee, you can definitely add that to the agenda.
This is more surprising.
So add it to your agenda,
Let's add it.
Danny.
I just want to say to you and to everyone, I think the idea of closing 2 schools right now is not a good idea. I think with the 3 withdrawals, us not knowing our future, I think that tabling the idea of closing a school at the moment because of our lawyer team, who stated in the past, we do not have the capacity with 3 withdrawals to continue to happen on that. I also, I feel like, yes, I feel as a member of the board that we have to get through the withdrawal, which it feels like being held hostage, but I feel like that is where we are. I put forth trying to listen to everybody and close 1 school and move forward, but I think closing a school at all is always a terrible thing. And I know that we have to figure out something financially, we have to figure out the best solution, not only financially, but for me, my main point of being on this board is what is best for the children. That is my #1 prerogative. That is what I vote for. That is why I'm here. That is why I'm away from my family. What is best for the children? And I do not think that closing down 2 schools right now is what's best for the children. And if we get to a point where we need to close down 2 schools, we need a 10-year plan. We need a mega campus. We need a something. We cannot keep doing this to families, staff, hell, committee members, that we can't keep going through this every couple years of, well, now we're going to put this kid over here. We can't keep doing it. It's crazy banana pants. We need to stop at 2 minutes.
I'm trying to be better.
Yes, Jesse.
Well, I'm going to say something. I don't know if you want to or not, but the thing of it is we keep discussing and we keep throwing things out, but we don't do nothing. So if we're going to say something, then we need to do it. It's for them, for the parents, for the kids. You know, we can sit here till December, meetings and meetings, and yet we don't do a thing. So to me, I think if we can, then we have to keep on going and do it. Not just talk about it, but do it.
So I would say that my concern in waiting is that it creates like a prolonged anxiety. If we know what our end goal is, if we know that, then we can create a timeline, we can face transitions, we can do all of that. But it's our responsibility to make a decision. It is the town's responsibility to vote on a withdrawal. So as a board, I don't think that we should wait to see what the towns do, because the towns could go either way. And we, you know, they could choose to withdraw even if we choose to keep a building open. They could choose to not withdraw if we close a building. We don't know. I think that we have to make a decision based on, you know, the sustainability of this district and what we can do. And making a decision would be better for the children. Knowing what they're going to have in 5 years would be better. It might, again, it'll be hard. A transition would be hard. Closing a school would be very hard. Closing 2 schools would be very hard. But knowing which 2 schools, knowing where they're going in 3, 4, 5 years would be better for the kids. And again, that's who we're here for. They deserve to know. We shouldn't have kids walking around the middle school not knowing if they're going to have a school open in 2 years. We need to decide, and then it does go to the towns, as we've discussed previously. And then I think we have to make sure that we have all of the things that we need as a board to decide so that we can all make a yes or no vote, yes or no, when we vote to close a school. Unless someone had a financial reason to abstain. Outside of that, as we know, that's why you would abstain. Outside of that, if you still haven't made a decision, let's continue talking on it. That's what discussion is for. No problem.
Okay. So the only thing I'm going to say is the board is that I have my own thoughts on what schools we should close and what not, but the issue comes down to the fact that if the board doesn't show up to the meeting,
Yeah.
then we can't make the vote. It has to be a supermajority vote. So if you don't show up to the meeting, then there's no chance of a vote and any of this moving forward because we don't have the votes to move
Just a
forward.
lot of
So,
people. We're here.
nice job.
Just to add to that, so the last meeting, we had people asking for a vote, but we're missing 3 board members. So 2 board members voting against anything would block any decision. So we could have rolled through all 4 schools as an option in that one meeting and achieved nothing because we missed 3 meetings. People need to show up.
So, I mean, that's kind of a frustrating aspect. Always fighting over who's gonna go next. Okay. I'm actually gonna go back. Yes.
I'm Phoebe Smith from Strong. I just have another question with the, and have we looked at other things? Other things like selling properties, selling land, and you know, we have a lot of land right here at this school that borders conservation land. Have we looked at that? And I understand that that might just be a temporary fix, but if that's gonna give us some income to put into our buildings and make things better, have we looked at that? Have we looked at other things to give us money? Like, it's a serious, and I know people have probably like everything this school board has to vote on, there's so many emotions and opinions. But if we have a way to get some money into our district without closing something right now, and I understand eventually we have to, but why aren't we talking about it? Why aren't those options on the table? And I guess that's what I mean by, we need other options other than just the withdrawal. Are there other options? That's what, that's what we need to hear.
We have not discussed selling property as a board yet. And I do agree, like, it could bring in revenue, and again, my thing will be long-term, but we have not, there's also some regulations around selling things that are school-based, usually like, and it's gonna be different for land, like with higher things we'd have to follow, but like usually there's a bid process, towns get first refusal. I'm not saying no, we can't, I'm just saying it's not as, I'm not saying it's as simple as just like putting for sale sign, but we have not discussed that yet.
Just really trying to think outside of the box to really keep our district together. That is my goal. Realistic.
Go ahead.
So I just want to kind of go on what Phoebe is saying. I just feel like the reason why we might not explore other things is because, again, like the school board isn't working like a team, right? We left the table and wanted to go to withdrawal instead of looking at ways. You all just had a vote last month. We was in this room. Not everybody could even agree that you all wanted to move forward looking for pre-K through 12. Y'all couldn't even agree on that. So of course they're not looking at, they're not gonna look at other options. Of course they're gonna leave the table and be like, let's withdraw. Of course they have people that share the same motives and agenda working in each committee, because they can't even sit at this table and work together. And y'all control the narrative. And when you leave the table and you're shady in your town, it's not right. There has to be a way to fix it for the taxpayers and for the families that are also
We have 4 more
taxpayers.
minutes remaining. Go ahead,
Okay,
Erin.
so my opinion regarding the idea of closing 2 schools, I think that I agree with there seems to be a sense that the board should be working as a team, coalescing on a solution. That is not an easy thing to do, but I agree we need to either decide, not necessarily every single person is going to agree. We vote, that's why we are, that's how we operate. We don't all have to agree. But we do, I think we should be trying to coalesce around a solution that is either we're closing multiple buildings and streamlining as much as possible. I think aiming towards a central campus in 10, 15 years is the right solution for our district if we're gonna stay a district. And I think along the path to that, streamlining, meaning closing buildings is probably necessary, and that's gonna save revenue to help to pay for a central campus. And I think not necessarily closing 2 schools tomorrow, but maybe having a plan that includes the closure of several schools as we build a central campus would be a really, I mean, that would be, it would cost money, but it would be, I think, an appropriate solution to save money over over decades. But we can't be looking at this like town versus town versus town. I agree with that. And I think most of you probably also agree with that. Like, we need to be looking at this as a board solution, not as like, I'm gonna protect my school solution, because we are not gonna get anywhere. So I agree with the idea that if the facilities committee could look at closing 2 schools and like, not necessarily, let's vote on closing 2 schools next meeting, but like, what should the process be? Let's talk to the board about a process where we are shuttering schools, but also building towards a central campus, and maybe start looking at what the central campus could be. And I also agree with starting that, the idea of, I don't think this has been brought up at the board level, but I know you guys talked about it at the facilities meeting, was maybe the first step is looking at 7 and 8 in the Mount Abram campus, as like, maybe we get a feasibility study and start looking at how you would set that up, and that might be a first step on many other possible solutions at consolidating. I love that idea. So that's my take.
Jesse?
Then do it.
Yeah, so let's do it.
Because that's the whole thing. You can sit and talk and talk.
Right.
Not do
Right.
anything. And we need to get going on it.
So that means